Hey, you guys, what's going on? How are we doing out there today? Say hello to me when you get here. Make sure you share the show and let me know where you are watching from because I'll see you pop up down here on here anyway. Okay, let me make sure everything is working. Hey, TikTok. It feels like it's been like 25 weeks since I've been on here, and it only was a week. All right, let me do my little sherry thing. How y'all feeling tonight? Okay, good. My sound and everything is on. Perfect. So we're going to try to see if we can get through the show tonight without Draco trying to bark, bark, bark. So this week has been a great week. Because we're doing well. I hope everything is doing good for you, going well for you. And I want to get into some of the stuff that's going on the internet because I like to use real live events to bring in perspective, such as betrayal and all this other stuff. Because y'all see all that stuff that is going on with Young Thug and them, and oh my God, they are just tearing him a new one. And I'm just interested in seeing you guys' perspectives on that. Hey, Benita girl, how are you? So make sure you guys share the show tonight. Oh, let me turn this down off of here. Make sure you share the show tonight. Follow us on all platforms. Also, I have some new videos and stuff coming soon. I think I'm going to have to do that this weekend. I cleared my schedule this weekend so I could get the posting and editing and all of that great stuff. All right, so what we doing, Benita? Are we going to do the comments this way or are we going to do the comments this way? You know how I feel. Last week, I think I just kept them on both. But yeah, I wanted to get into some things that's going on. Make sure you guys share the show. Give me a heart and thumbs up. Oh God, where do I begin? I've had like a breakthrough, and I'm just so excited, and I just can't wait to tell you guys about it once everything is over. Okay, but what I say, I won't be before you long. I always say that. Also, the, the orders too that have been placed. I will be getting those out. I will be getting those orders out this weekend as well. So yeah, share the show for me. If you're on TikTok, say hello. Make sure you're tapping the screen so TikTok and everybody knows we're here. And you can help me reach my goal over on TikTok. I just need 5 little roses. Hey, how you doing? I wanted to get into it, right? Because so this week in the group, I was talking about betrayal because it seems to be this notion that's been going around here recently with the Young Thug trial. Have you guys seen that or been keeping up with that? So, as the trial was going on, we were here keeping up. I was keeping y'all up with it because y'all remember Lil Woody. He was up there doing his thing on that trial, and ultimately, the trial, Young Thug and them ended up really getting off because of Lil Woody's testimony, right? So it's been so much talk going on, and I like to do thorough research and just process everything before just speaking on it because I see a lot of people that was just like talking about it. And I was like, let me go see what happened for myself. Let me know if you guys are familiar with that. So there's this thing going around, and now some people are saying that they feel like Young Thug was a snitch, and he snitched, then he wasn't a snitch, and then he unsnitched. So I'm just coming today to say how my thoughts and offer a different perspective because hindsight is 2020, okay? And when you don't know no better, you can't do any better. Also, when you're betrayed, right? Betrayal can cut you deep. I don't know about you or if you ever been betrayed by anybody or anything like that. I think the question that I had posted in the group earlier this week was if someone ultimately betrayed you and let's see, let me I'm gonna go to it. So I can give it to you verbatim just to see if you guys are chiming tonight. Like I said, when you get here, say hello, share the show. Um, where's it at? Where's it at? Ultimately, if someone betrays you, it's like, is that debt gone? After someone betrays you, do you feel like that debt is over, or do you still owe them? Because a lot of times people take betrayal and we're overly loyal. Don't y'all think? Like we can be overly loyal to people. We're we'll be loyal to people, more loyal to people than we are to ourselves. That's another conversation for another day. You know what I mean? And let me see. Let me go over here, do my little sherry thing as well. Okay. So I'm trying to find it. If not, but I'm just feeling really good today. I've been meditating like crazy. It's feel really good to be back into the swing of things. So the question was, do you think loyalty should last forever just because someone once helped you, or does betrayal erase the debt? And I thought that conversation that was a lot interesting with like some of the comments and stuff that people were talking about when it came down to it, ultimately in the group. So shout outs to everybody that participated in that. So here is just my thoughts. So I watched the interview. Let me know if you guys are familiar with it. I watched the interview. Are we going to do what my internet? Huh? So y'all know here I covered the Young Thug trial briefly. After a while, I just can't keep covering stuff because I get, overwhelmed. Hey, YouTube, say hello to me once you get there. Make sure if you're watching from YouTube, you go ahead and you hit that like button. Give me a thumbs up, okay? Sharing is caring. So on the Young Thug trial, it was just mayhem, right? So I watched Young Thug. He just recently did an interview with um, the Perspective podcast or something like that with this guy. They all know each other in Atlanta. And what I found to be very interesting on this interview is that how us as a culture, well, before I even go there, hold on. Look, I had to stop myself and say before I even go there, okay? Just mainly this, okay? I understand that there are rules. There are unwritten rules that if you are outside and you're playing outside in the streets, you take what comes outside in the streets. And I also understand there are some people who, pretend to be outside and they doing what they doing in the streets and then they can't handle consequences and they're not understanding there are those who they're gonna do what they gotta do to get out of the situation or to make sure that they go home and see their families. I totally understand that, right? But here's the thing, a lot of times over the years, men always said that always like the black women that are really hard on them and just have so much to say and hold them under the gun, blah, blah. But here what I will say to this is that this case, this situation with Young Thug has definitely I have definitely seen nothing but other male counterparts, their own counterparts, going in on them, okay? Let's start there, okay? Y'all are harder on each other versus us women being hard on y'all. That's just my opinion. I'm sticking to it. That's how I feel about it. And you can let me know how you feel about it or what your thoughts are on the down in the comments below. But that's how I feel. So let's see. Outside of that, right? So here we go. So here it is. Let's start there. The streets don't love nobody but themselves, okay? And Young Thug, watching that interview, I was able to really place myself in his shoes. As far as I was listening to understand him versus listening to judge and see and catch up, try to see where I can trip him up on a lie and see what's going on. And I feel like that was a space where a lot of people was coming from. A lot of people was trying to listen to him and see what was going on because they wanted to say, well, what did he lie about? What didn't he lie about? What went wrong in the case? How the case did that? What was you know, supposed to go this way? What wasn't supposed to go that way, right? So I listened to his childhood. As you can hear about his childhood in the interview, he definitely coming from trauma. He's a product of his environment, and I believe that we forget that a lot of the times when people make decisions, your brain isn't even fully developed until you're 25. Okay, let's start there. I think that that's another issue that people don't like to acknowledge. And most of the times with us, if we knew better, we would do better. Okay. Now, me personally, and even having, prior law enforcement experience, when when I watched his interview, 'cause I watched the trial, I didn't see him tell on anybody, okay? That's just me. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't listening for the right things or whatever the case may be, but I didn't hear him snitch on anybody, is what they call me. But what I do find funny is now that you have, Tekashi 6ix9ine just did a song, about him, and so now a lot of them have just They're sitting down and they're doing interviews. So believe it or not, honestly, they about to get paid, okay? Because that trial, the YSL trial, was one of the longest trials in history. And if it's taking too long to get to where I'm trying to go, I'm trying to paint the picture, okay? So the YSL trial was the longest trial in history. Which is they said the rules of the streets that you need to know is that there is no rules. Absolutely. There are no rules. The streets don't love nobody, okay? And you have these kids who come from these situations and they were just trying to get their way out of it. Legally, by the law, YSL was not a gang. The issue was that everybody that was a part of it had a criminal background, right? So when Young Doug is sitting on this interview and he's on a podcast that he just did, and he's speaking about what happened, you could hear a lot of pain. He even started crying. He is crushed behind who is it, Gunna? He's crushed behind Gunna signing papers and getting on the stand saying, "Hey, yes, YSL is a gang, X, Y, and Z." So he's crushed like that. So I just for a moment I went, whether it's those who are saying, "Oh, he's a snitch, oh, he's a rat, whatever," da, 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 da. Like, place yourself in these shoes of take the crime, take the trial, take all of that out of it, right? I don't know who it may be to you, but could you imagine the most closest person to you, right? A friend versus your best friend, all right? Like your best friend, somebody you rock with, y'all have been what what BMS say? From the womb to the tomb, okay? Your best friend does something that just crush you. Something that you never thought they would do. I mean, you have helped them pay their rent. You have raised their children, okay? You may have even had them work for you. You may have taken care of their parents. You know, they may have been in maybe like a domestic violence relationship and you were there. You know what I mean? Y'all may have been homeless together. Whatever it is, that person that is close to you, that is like the keeper of your secrets. And imagine that whatever it is, I thought you were talking about politics for a second. And she's so silly. So then imagine that this person turns around and and does, because we all have a different definition of betrayal. That's why I say betrayal is subjective, because everybody has a different definition of it. It means different things to different people, and they just used to do the ultimate, right? Now you have people saying that he needs to get over it. For one, okay, hold on, keep up. There's been so many discussions about how you guys say that women don't allow men to be vulnerable and express themselves, and that you can't be emotional as a man because then a woman is going to judge you for it and all that. Here it is, there's been nothing but like memes and comments being made by other men mocking the fact that he was crying while he's doing this podcast, expressing that he's hurt. You understand? So I think that that is something else that, you all who may feel like, oh, that women are the ones that don't allow you guys to express yourself, right? That he's hurt. So they're now they're mocking him because he's showing emotion, right? He's saying how he feels. And now he's like being a laughing stock. But what he does say is that, hey, the conversations that y'all are hearing, I've already had these conversations with the people who I talked about on the phone. So I like that aspect of it, because sometimes in life, what sound and maybe like gossip to you is really falling on deaf ears to somebody else, especially if you're somebody who can stand on what you say, not afraid to repeat yourself, things of that nature, right? But so much could be learned from just this public situation. It is so amazing, right? So Here it is, he's devastated, he's crushed, he's betrayed by somebody where he's like, "Hey, I gave my OG said to me, 'Hey, Gunna is my son. If anything shall ever happen to me, take him with you, keep him,'" and just so happened, he ended up passing away. And so Young Thug decided to, right, take this oath and this vow, which is something ultimately we have a choice, and we have to stop blaming people for the choices that we make. But he took this oath and this choice to say, "Okay, I am going to take this man under my wing, pour into him, and blow him up and keep this word because my OG said, make sure he is good, take care of my son." Now, ultimately, that could be a lot of pressure. And honestly, when you look at that, we it's really not fair for us to put our requirements and our expectations onto other people. And I say that because we as individuals have a hard time keeping up with our own expectations that we give ourselves, whether it's the lack of being able to be consistent, procrastination, sticking to your own goal, focusing, all of these other things. And then we go and we turn around and we want to give all of this and place the blame or place all these expectations onto somebody else and other people, make them the keeper of it when they didn't even act to be the one to carry it and bury it, right? To bear it, right? So he goes and he does this. So now he's even more devastated to as the process goes to find out that Gunna was and did get on the stand to say, "Hey, yeah, we was a gang." So he's expressing that, and make sure you like, share the show. And I'm breaking this down. So he's expressing that, man, this is my life. I've been with you all this time. I bought your mother a house. I brought I brought your brother a car and let you give it to him as if it was for me because you didn't have money. Like I did all of these things. You got on the stand and you did that. And he's heard about it. So here you have that portion of it, right? Then you have the other portion of it where so it's like, well, what were you doing? Because maybe this time you got caught for what you got away with for so long. Because one thing about life, them tables they will turn, and the circle is just going to keep going round and round and round and round, and it will come back, right? So you see, it started off what? It was 28 people on this trial. 28 people on this trial. Now, the one thing is, people, the public in general, you even know this way if you guys being the kids and being in high school. People would rather believe a lie than they want to believe the truth. You can have the horse sitting here telling you what happened, what they did, give you their reason as to why they did it, and you will still tell them that they are lying based upon what you believe, how you feel, and what you think, right? So it's almost kind of like, what is the point of explaining and justifying yourself when you already have your mind made up as to what I did, why I did it, and what I should have did? Well, ultimately, a lot of times we don't know what we would do until we are placed in those very same situations. Until you're placed in that situation, you don't know what you will do with 50 years to life or 5 years, 10 years, you know, hanging over your head. You don't know what you would do. You don't know what you would do. And everybody is different. You know what I mean? And here we are, that situation, I was able to see different parts of my experiences in this case. 'Cause I was like I said, I was listening to understand it and just understand him and see how he got down in that path. You know what I mean? And ultimately, He got there. He has 11 siblings. He held his brother hand when his brother, was unalived. And even with that, I think his mother and them, they didn't have anywhere to go at one point. And the podcast guy asked him, when was the first time that he, felt pain or something or was like betrayed or whatever. And he said when he heard his aunt say to his mother, "Oh, y'all can't come live here because it's too many of y'all and y'all got roaches." They couldn't go live with their aunt. He couldn't go live with his uncle. He said, and being as a little kid, hearing that, it was like, wow. And he was like, that in turn, he understood it. He didn't, he was like his aunt, he was like, my auntie, all of us, we grew up in the projects, they were struggling too. He was like, I mean, she had roaches, but she could contain her roaches. It was just so funny. She might have had a little roach, they might have been in our clothes. She didn't want that in her house. So he says that in turn made him go out, even with his mother. His mother taught them love. It's 11 of y'all, no matter what, you love, 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 love each other no matter what. That made him go out and start seeking and wanting that love from outside people, and also being the love that for people that he didn't receive at home. Do you understand? And a lot of the things which I find to be very, very good about this is why I feel like depending on where you are in your life, if you have 2 hours, I called my home girl. I said, girl, because we like having intellectual conversations. I'm like, girl, you got to go sit. I don't know when you break it down and watch this 2 hour interview. It is so good. It is so telling. Like it is deep. It opens you up. And ultimately, with even in that, right? Sadly, family is usually always the ones that teach you how to be. They teach you how to act, how to dress. They tell you what to do. They tell you what's right, what's wrong, what's good to do, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. You understand? Because we're born with no knowledge. So everything is taught. Kids are very impressionable. We mimic what we see, you know. We repeat what we hear and mimic what we see. So family, I don't even want to say as quiet as it's kept, but family is ultimately the first people who teach you rejection, who teach you disappointment, who teach you and show you that you are not important, or ultimately the minute you do something that I feel or deem you shouldn't do, I'm going to scold you. I'm going to turn my love off from it. I'm going to treat you differently, or I'm going to no longer be there for you. So I'm listening to this interview and I'm gathering all of this from this interview, and I'm like, it's almost like he was already destined for failure, even though he became a superstar. But he committed so many infractions were committed along the way. But listening to him, and I'm like, and all this is just a little bit of him just saying, yo, I was like 6 years old, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. And when the guy was like, when did you first feel, rejected? And it was when my auntie told my mother she ain't want us in her house because we had roaches. And they had nowhere to go. And this is family, right? So then you have that part that shaped him and molded him as to why he did what he did and ended up being how he's being. So he goes and he puts that love out that he wants to receive from other people. But ultimately, he keeps hurting himself and not really addressing and dealing with the issues within himself, like us. Instead of us sitting dealing with your issues. You might go get high, you might go have sex, you might be sleeping with this person, that person. You might, um, start picking up different vices, you know what I'm saying? You may steal, lie all the time, because ultimately people don't wanna deal with themselves. It takes a lot of courage to be able to sit and really deal with yourself and say, "You know what? This part about me, I need to change it." Not because somebody else is telling me to change it, but ultimately because I need to change it. A lot of us are walking around in pain and don't even know that we are in pain. You can't even identify the fact that you're in pain. You can't even identify the fact that you're in pain. You don't know why you're in pain, but all you know is that something is going on and you want to call it something else. You don't know a name for it. You don't know where it came from because you don't want to sit still long enough to deal with it. So then you go out here and you either project on other people or you put all these expectations on everybody else and make everybody else responsible for the issues that lie deep down within yourself. So here we are, everybody is saying, "Oh, he's a snitch. Oh, he's a rat. Oh, he just was on the jail cell phone talking. He really thought he was gone." And I understand what he says when he says, "To you guys, this is a conversation, it's fun, and and y'all are finding it as entertainment, but this is really my life, and it doesn't do anything but remind me where I was and take me back to a dark place." This is what we don't care about that. Let's ultimately think about it. We don't care about that. People don't naturally care about that, or whatever the case may be. And he was like, and everybody poking fun at it. But he also said that I always told God that I always wanted all eyes on me, and I don't care how they're gonna look, no matter what. I wanted all eyes on me. I'm in a position, I'm in a situation and a lifestyle where I want all eyes on me, good or bad. Like your words, your mouth, that tongue speak life or death, and your mouth is powerful. So here it is now. He got the whole world watching. I mean, they have been the talk of the town. That trial was like 2, 3 years, like a year and a half or something, good or bad. Finally get released, right when you think you're gonna get praised for being released and, it should be a welcome home party. You ain't been home a hot 15 minutes, and now the internet is just trashing you. Now, prior to this, when people are saying, "Oh, I wonder who's leaking the calls or why the calls are getting leaked," but like I told y'all, we talked about the trial here. We were talking about the trial here. We was keeping up with it for a minute. His calls were always getting leaked. Do y'all remember that? If y'all ever seen and watched the trial, the calls were always getting leaked, but his attorneys and all of them had it shut down, right? But they were already leaked. So here we are in a situation and in a predicament where this is just showing you why you shouldn't idolize people. That these celebrities, I mean, shoot, I thought the Diddy thing would have showed you not to worship the ground these celebrities and people walk on, and that they are all still human. They're not superhuman. They're all still human. And just look at it. You have you have Diddy who did what he did and went on what he doing, right, with his trial. You have people who ultimately were justifying that, saying, "Oh, he didn't do that to these girls because they wanted it and they were getting paid." And so what? They said no, they kept coming back all the while forgetting that these women were being drugged at one point, forgetting the fact that these women said no at one point. Ultimately, it's just chaos. So you see people cheering that on, saying, "Yeah, no, they wanted it, right?" So even if you're a victim, really naturally a victim, and if you're a woman and you're a victim, to God be the glory, because the culture and society will never see you as a victim. That's that right there when y'all just sit back like, "Oh my god." Then you have Nicki Minaj, right? Nicki Minaj is just going on and on, rightfully so, just about how she is being treated by her job. Because I think that ultimately people forget that entertainment are these people's job. Some of these people are in contracts, agreements. You can still get grievances, EEOC complaints filed. It's a job. You have people who just are going off. She's bitter. She's this da, 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 because she's complaining about equal treatment at her job. And it's like, "Oh my god." Then you have Clarissa Shields, right? And make sure you give me a heart and a thumbs up, you guys, and just share the show, 'cause this is just everything that's been going on. And then you have Clarissa Shields, brown skin, dark skin girl, doesn't go with the status quo of the media, right? Of what society may deem as beautiful and gorgeous, nice body, right? Natural body, athletic, fit, successful, and she is who she is, right? She's getting into the branding thing, which if you watch and follow her interviews, that's not a choice of hers. I don't even want to say she's being forced to do it, but she's trying it. She can't even show up and be herself on the internet without people calling her and telling her she's not attractive. Um, what else? She looks a mess. They keep saying, "Oh, girl, you still with that married man?" Blah 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 blah. Da, 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 da. And we'll talk about her and discuss her in a manner as if she is, I don't even want to say regular, but as if she shouldn't be comfortable in the skin she's in. You follow me? And her comments all day, even people online, they say, "Oh, but you dealing with that married man. Like, girl, you and raving about Papoose, but Papoose is still married. Meanwhile, your homegirl dealing with a married man too. That's supposedly separated, but that's okay." So these are the things that have been going on and that people justify, right? And then, like, it's just so much. So you have a woman who could show up and naturally be herself, and she is constantly ridiculed for showing up being herself. Now, I always say at the end of the day, no matter what, nobody could ever make me hate Clarissa Shield, because the one thing I like about Clarissa Shields, and it's not even just about her, is the simple fact that I love somebody who can show up and authentically be themselves in a world full of followers. In a world full of followers, in a world where nobody is able to be comfortable in the skin that they're in and show up authentically as themselves. So those are just a few things, and the reason why I had to use these celebrity situations to make my point today is because that's what people like to pay attention to, right? So here it is. You have that, and then you have, and now that brings us back to the entire Young Thug situation, where now everybody was screaming for him to be free when he was in there. Now he's out, and people feel that there are more, allegedly details to the case. At this point, it don't even matter because he's free. Oh, he's a rat. Oh, he's a snitch. He's this. He's that. Whoop de woo. As he said, whoop de woo, whoop de woo. Like, I mean, that is so funny. It was hilarious. But here it is. Everybody is just in an uproar and just using it and just talking about it. And he said, I was in a cell for 23 hours a day. He was doing 23's 1 for 23 hours a day. I couldn't call my family. 'Cause you all know, yeah, don't act like you don't know that when you're going through something, you know who you can call that's gonna add to it, or who's gonna encourage you or let you down or build you up, right? You just know who to call, who not to call, and then sometimes you mess up because you may just be venting and you just need to vent, and you still end up calling the wrong person, right? So he said he couldn't call his family, so he only the person that he could call for like his piece of the cake was Mariah, and then when he would talk to like his homeboys and stuff like that. So here it is. He said this whole time while he's in his cell, he can't do anything but think. So all he has is all his thoughts. He said he may go to court one day and just get hammered in court, and then gotta go back to the jail thinking about, "Am I gonna get out of here? What's going on? I'm praying. It don't seem like my prayers are being answered, and I can attest to that myself, because Lord knows, sometimes some things you pray for that you want, and you just feel like, he's not listening, or it's not moving the way you want it to go, and things like that, right? And I'm just like, man, it is so much that could be learned. It was so much that could be learned, and it's so much to unpack with just in this case and his interview of when he came home on this podcast. And it is truly disappointing that out of everything he said, the only thing people heard or are getting from it is he's a rat. Like, and it reminds me, like, for real. Like, this is why I was like, I gotta get this out. I don't care if anybody's here, whatever, like, whatever, because, whoever needs to hear it. It reminds me almost of when August Alsina sat with Angela Yee, that boy discussed losing his brother when he was a teenager. He discussed losing his sister, who was his anchor, his backbone. She believed in him. She was his manager. She was his hairstylist. Everything. He lost her to cancer, and he talked about how he was depressed and how I believe he tried to unalive himself several times. August Alsina was talking about this in that interview. Just all the things and stuff that he was going through. And then it comes on where he discussed and says he slept with Jada Pinkett. And it was like everything that he said in that interview, the only thing people walked away with was and focused on was he slept with Jada Pinkett. And I was like, "Oh my, that is." I'm like, out of everything that this boy said, how he now has to raise his nieces. He raised his nieces, uh, which made him have to be a dad, and how they had something in their school, and so they were all the, pink ladies from Greece. Out of everything that this boy said, all you heard was he slept with Jada Pinkett. And in that, it was the men again. You see, are you seeing the pattern? Saying, "Oh, he's a snitch. Oh, he's a rat. He wasn't supposed to tell that." So again, here it is. Another young black man was expressing himself. I believe he even shedded a few tears on there as well, was ridiculed publicly for expressing himself by his male counterparts, but yet men will say that women don't allow and accept men expressing themselves. Like, this is crazy. So I am just like, "Oh my goodness." I said all that to say that sometimes it's okay to definitely look at things and watch things as entertainment, because I know I do, because I don't really have no drama, so, some other drama is usually the best drama, especially if it ain't yours, right? But I said all that to say that sometimes God will allow you to see things publicly as a reflection of where, no, you may not have done that exact same thing, but look deep enough to see if you can see a little bit of you in the situation. Sometimes you'll be able to see that, hey, does it feel good when I'm judged for my decisions? Does it feel good when I'm called names? Does it feel good when people look at me different for the choices I make versus always wanting to judge and speak on what somebody else is doing, right? Because but we all have our own trials and testimonies that we have to go through to get through in order to either bring us to our purpose and to make us great, to build character and to learn. You know, there were people in the Bible who committed murder, who Jesus took under his wing. He saved the lady that they was about to stone for committing adultery. They ain't had nothing to say about the man. You understand? And so, with a whole host of other things, right? David abused his power and, and practically took that man's wife and then had him killed because he put a baby in her. Sounds familiar? So I said all that to say that before you speak on things, maybe even before you decide to mistreat your own friends, family, take a look at it and see where you could be judged and looked at differently for some of the choices you've made because you weren't always the best friend. You didn't always have the nicest things to say. You weren't always the best supportive relative. You weren't always the most encouraging parent. You weren't always the best sibling, you know, the best aunt, the best child. There are things even in your closet that you won't even allow nobody to say peekaboo at because you too think somebody may have something to say. But you don't have to be embarrassed about anything that you do. And this is the one thing that I will say that I love about me, right? I am far I really love the fact that I embrace who I am and I accept me flaws and all. And I remember one time when I first started getting to go to see it, it was always like, "Oh, listen, I'll tell you my business before I let somebody else tell it." And then even like Young Thug, if you do choose to tell it, oh, Imma explain to you what it was, but you could choose to believe it, you could choose not to, but you're not gonna hold me captive to what you can't get over, you know? So a lot of times Draco, get out. So a lot of times we have to stop for a minute because even with all this chaos and when you're sitting and you're listening to what's going on, even with like Clarissa Shields. Like she said, she never was a girly girl. She said, "I'm in the gym 6 days a week. I do this, I do that. I didn't have a car. I remember I had all this money, won all this money at the Olympics, and it was really, really cold outside." She said it was a blizzard. And she said, and it was this lady. She said I was walking down the street and I seen this old lady. She said she was shivering. She said, and I went over there to talk to the lady because I'm like, who was this old lady walking in the snow this cold? She said I wanted to help her. She said when she got up to the lady, it was her mother. And she said, and in that moment, she said, "Man, you got all this money. If you don't go buy a car so so your mother don't have to walk." So she comes from all of this, background, different background, right? And she said, "I can't go in the gym." Okay, because you guys like y'all like Tank, right? Or whatever. I'm not into sports, so don't kill me. I guess he recently had a fight, whatever, not too long ago or something. He said it was the grease or something. Everybody was like, "Da, da, da." So she was talking about how she don't go into the gym and you can't with no edge control. You gotta go in there looking crazy because she was like she went in there one time with, like some edge control and it burned and it got in her eye. So here it is. She came from nothing. She made it and she made it just off of how she is. She went to the Olympics. She won all of these things, and yet you know, people feel like she's arrogant and she's cocky. But we all know that sometimes your confidence within yourself, sometimes we know our confidence within ourselves will make somebody else feel uncomfortable. But that's not your problem. You know, you do not dim your light so that somebody else can shine. And that's something I would never do. I remember I would like dumb myself down, like play stupid. You know how they say, play a fool to catch a fool? I just would play stupid. To my advantage, of course. But, as a while, as time went on, and I grew up and stuff and just did different things, I was like, "No, I will not I will not do that. I will not settle, and I will not acknowledge what I know," right? And they're like, "Oh, well, she's cocky," or, "Well, she had this outfit on," 'cause they say they don't think she could dress, and she was like, "Ooh, I got that shit on." And they was like, "Oh, but you look a mess. She looks a mess. Ah, la, 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 brah." And I was like, "But why she can't?" And I was in a comment, and I was like, "But why she can't feel like that about herself?" And then one of the followers on here, he was like, "No, because she knew what she was doing when she made that comment. She wanted people to react." I was like, "But how do you know that though? Like, how do you know that she posted that video looking crazy according to whoever? Like, how do you know that? How do you know that she didn't feel like she looked good?" Because we all have our own style. We all like different things. We all different. And then we live in a world where people won't even embrace their uniqueness, right? So people talk about this lady and she living the life. Now you have where she's now doing her little glam thing because she said she didn't know anything about branding. She didn't get where she is by branding. She didn't get that. She got it just by working and all that. She got medals and all of this, and she just like she's confident. And people don't like when somebody's confident. Sometimes they can mistake it as arrogance, and it's like, oh, why? Why do we mistake? Why does confidence get mistaken for arrogance, or do we just not know the difference? Right? So now she is glammed up and all of this. She looks so pretty. Body natural, all this. Oh, you know what? I should have pulled a picture up. You know what? Oh, I usually pull the pictures up. Y'all, why y'all ain't tell me that? Y'all know I usually pull the pictures up. Hey CJ. Better late than never. At least you here though. Cause I've been here. I'm gonna pull the picture up. And now she looks nice. And can you believe that somebody was like, Um, the dress would have been cute if she would have had her waist snatched in a little more, excuse me, and if she go, like, get her boobs done to sit up in the dress. What? So it's just like people are so superficial. So everybody's superficial. Then when she pop out with papoose, everybody is talking about right now, I'm just talking about the whole thing of how culture and society is just a mess. So now that everybody, is talking about, but Clarissa Shields. But now everybody's talking about how, oh girl, oh, because she got Papoose name tattooed on her boob. So now everybody's talking about, oh girl, you still with that married man. And like I said a few minutes ago, and how many of y'all friends or y'all dealing with somebody who's allegedly separated or still married? Like, cut it out. People want to pick and choose. So it's just one of those things. And I'm just like, damn, here she is. She shows up and she's herself and she's very successful, and people won't even allow her to be successful. And now that she said her team has her having to wait a minute, I'm about to show y'all. Her team has her now having to get into like glam and all of that because they was like, "Girl, you can get these." They was like, "Girl, you can get these brand deals. Girl, you can do this." She was like, she's not choosing to do all this glam stuff. They're telling her different ways that she could make money and improve her brand. Hey, how you, girl? People have something to say about that. Now they're saying, "Oh, she wants to be Remy Ma." Like, cut it out. Okay, right here, right? Her. We're talking about her at this moment. I don't know why. Why I ain't been to this? Why I ain't been to y'all? What you say, CJ? Oh, look, you know what? I'm gonna make the comments big on both screens. I said I was gonna do that. Arrogance and confidence are very close cousins, and for some reason, people love to see the family feud. Love to see the family feud. No, for real. But listen, even though they are close cousins, I don't give a damn if they close cousins or not. You still gotta know what you're talking about. What is going on? Why is it not? So this is just, but again, this is where we'll say that um well where is it at? I don't know. I just think we live in a culture where people just don't want you to be confident in yourself or anything like that. People rather beat you down than build you up, or they build you up and then they throw you down. So there you have, like I said earlier, let me do this one. It's just that people like to idolize people. So even with her, like her story, you know what I mean? Her story, she had a great story. She came for nothing, similar to Young Thug, and she made something of herself. And people now want her to transform into the everyday Insta girl, right? So then you have, hold on, I ought to pull it up because I know y'all gonna probably gag at this. And I was having this conversation too, with my nephew, and I was like, when it comes to this street stuff, I don't care about no rat, not no rat, be no rat. When Young Thug said that he gave her his phone number, he told her to take his number because he was really trying to, hit on her and stuff like that. Now, like I said, being in prior law enforcement, that is true. I remember I was brand new, and I remember I didn't know what this guy did. I just ended up being the one that had to transfer him to the station. But he was talking to me, running his mouth in the process. When them people say that anything you say will be used against you in a court of law, I had no idea, oops, sorry, that they were going to be calling me on the stand for something I ain't know nothing about just because I transported him to book. And on the way to booking, he was doing the same thing Young Thug did to this officer. He told me to go. Do y'all remember when Mo's oh my gosh, do y'all remember when Mo's downtown used to be popping? And when Mo's downtown, it started off where it used to be nothing but a bunch of the white people used to be down there, and then it turned into nothing but all the little young drug dealer dudes. Do y'all remember that? Downtown by the harbor? That's true, but when it comes to this internet age, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So F everybody, really. Yeah, that's why you can but that's why you gotta really know who you are, and you can't really care what anybody says, because you're 9 times out of 10, you're running around concerned about people, and you're taking other people's opinions and views of you, and they don't even know who they are. You have some people who don't even live some people have no life outside of this. Don't have no friends, can't have a conversation, can't do nothing outside of this. Can do something for 5 minutes, and then they back like this. "Oh, you know such and such, such and such, such and such, such and such. Oh, such and such. Oh, did you see that? Oh, such and such did that." Now, why would they put that on there? I don't mean no harm. This don't make no sense. Did you see such and such? Some people have no life outside of this, right? So, come on, why do you keep popping up? Thank you. Um, oh, and I had no idea that they were going to call me on the stand for taking this man down there. Well, do y'all remember that about Mo's? That was where I left off at. Do y'all remember that about that Mo's downtown? Well, that's all used to be down there, right? And he was like, "Yeah, Officer White, I'm gonna be down here. I'm gonna be gone for a little minute, but once you take my number," he was like, "I want you." Oh, he was like, "I want you to take my number and put in your phone. Won't you go ahead and order yourself a crab cake or something." I will never forget. Order yourself a crab cake or something. Want me to put it on my tab, and I won't say his name because he was very popular. Um, yeah, and put it on my tab. I'm be there. He was like, "Look," it was me and my other partner. We were taking this like, but Officer White, that boy was such and such on that, wasn't he? Something, I didn't even know what he was trying to say. He was like, he was singing like Luther Vandross, wasn't he? And I was like, and just because you did something, I'm not gonna not talk to you like you're not human. I was like, what? I was like, what are you talking about? Right? He was like, he's singing like Luther Vandross. I don't singing like Luther Vandross. I didn't know that that was AKA he was telling. But I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then my coworker was like, "Oh, that's he's saying that he's snitching." I was like, "Oh, well, why you just say that? Like, come on now, some stuff. Just you understand? I just I'm paying the games for y'all, right? Like, come on, just say that. Don't be talking to me in riddles. I don't mean no harm. I it don't nothing make my butt itch more than the person who speaks in riddles. I can't stand it. So when he was on trial and when he was on trial, this is why I said this Young Thug case is just such like reality because I just remember this in that moment. When he was on trial, they caught me on that stand, and when them people, I'm trying to pull this other picture, and when them people called me on that stand, I had to repeat the entire conversation, and I was like, "Oh," he said, "Oh, that boy singing like Luther Vandross." He said for me to take his phone number. He told me to, go get me something to eat from Mo, put it on his tab 'cause they know him, and he gonna holler at me out. Right? Like, I don't never met this boy but one time. I was just transferring him to prison. That's it, that's all. So when people are saying, "Oh, Thug is partying," and, "Oh, he's this," like, no, for real, you'd be surprised, like, you out here be silly like that. I swear, be silly like that when they get locked up, or if they find you attractive, or if they think they gonna, get something out of it, if they think you're gonna fall for it, they do. They do it. So then you have that, and then kinda find out he had gotten this boy had ended up getting some time, and I was like and the attorney had called me like, "Oh, yeah, I just wanted to let you know that, yeah, he was found guilty and he got sentenced to such and such amount of years." Like, so again, I don't wanna say. I was like, because he was very known. I was like, "Oh, okay. I don't care." So so but in this situation, one of these situations it was a person who was involved, similar to Ghana. There was a person involved. He was in the street trying to provide for his family, but you could tell he wasn't built like that, and he messed up some money. And just so happened one day, um, I'm driving out of my business, and I hear this young lady, she's, like, screaming. She's screaming, and when she's screaming, right, when she's screaming, I look down the street, and these people are trying to put her boyfriend in the trunk of their car. Like, I swear to you not. Trying to put him in the trunk of the car, cracked him in his head with, like, a frying pan and like a crowbar or something. Like, I mean, it was horrible. True story, right? And needless to say, he messed up the money. They knew he kinda couldn't really count, you know what I mean? But what did Eric say earlier? The streets ain't got no rules. You understand? Like, the rules of the streets, they don't have no rules. And when he did that, you know, um, it ended up resulting in this, okay? And although he was looked at like a rat and had to get on the stand and do all the telling, he also had, like, 3 little children. And when this was all happening, his girlfriend was also, like, pregnant. And I just remember sitting with this one particular situation, because this is another situation, and the his girlfriend was like, baby mother was sitting there talking, because he was not going to tell. Y'all, I swear to y'all, this young man was not going to tell. He was not going to tell. He had, like, 3 kids, 3, 4 little kids already. On top of him already having 3 or 4 little kids, he also had some more babies in her belly, and I just remember her sitting there crying. Why y'all listening? Y'all keeping up? I remember her sitting there crying, and she's just looking at him in the hospital with his head bust open, 'cause he had to go to jail too, though, saying, "What please, please." So all she kept saying is, "Please." And she was like, "Look at me, please." And she crying. And he's sitting there, he ain't saying nothing. I mean, he ain't saying nothing. I mean, he looked like a stone cold killer. You understand? He ain't saying nothing. That boy ain't saying nothing. Man, them people started poking at that soft spot, okay? It ain't let me put up the other picture. Them people started poking at that soft spot, okay? And he told. Yes, he did. He told. He ended up telling. So I feel like it's a slippery slope. For me, I've always been a law-abiding citizen for the most part. So that whole snitch, no snitch stuff, I don't really care about it. I don't, I feel like if you do something and you get caught for it, take it, deal with the consequences. But I guess snitching is considered if we're doing something together, you get caught, and then I'd be like, CJ, come on, they got us. It's like, wait a minute, what? But in a situation like that, though, let's be real. Let's be real though. You say, see, they said tricky situations. Sometimes you gotta know what you signed up for. But let's be real though. In a situation like that, would it be like, oh man, I'm like, CJ, come on, they got us, man. And you get locked up too. Would you really be mad at me or consider that snitching and not want to be my friend no more? I feel like it's situational because you have people where I listen. I don't know about y'all, but I know me and my friends we is silly sometimes, especially back in the day. Simple. Whether you may be intoxicated, sweeted up, or people who pop or whatever, and you just out having a good time and there's some craziness going with you and your friends, and then they end up doing something or getting caught or something happen, and you like, yeah, such and such, and you like, this dumb ass gonna tell on me. Like, I don't know. Listen, maybe just me and my friends be there and be having a good time. You can't even be mad because some of those moments add to the memories, best memories for life. True story. Like, for real. Like, no way. I'm dead serious. I remember this time, y'all, a few years ago, and this is why, and I was telling my homegirl this the other day. I was like, "Yo, I'm so upset that I didn't do this. I'm so mad." I was like, "I wish that I was driving my car this day." Like, no, for real. I was like, "I wish I was driving my car this day." It was me and my homegirl, and we was over at my other friend's house. She was showing us the neighborhood that she had just brought her house in. Yes, that's snitching. The streets is a whole 'nother unfair life that you wouldn't understand unless you really playing in it. Okay, be it as it may, if I decide to say, "Oh, they got me," and we shoplifting or something out of Walmart, you know, sometimes some stuff get a pass. It's like, "You so dumb," because you know how people be like, "Man, this dumb A nigga." You know how people be. So I was so mad I wasn't driving that day because I feel like I let my friend rob me of this one memory that would have been the greatest memory, well, one of the greatest memories of my entire existence. She was showing us her house. And make sure you guys share the show for me. Like the show, heart the show for me if you on YouTube, like the video. And I remember these people were having a cookout. I don't know if they were Hispanic, African. I don't know the ethnicity. And we were driving, but they was having a good time. And I was like, "Girl, back up." She like, "What?" Everybody in the car, I'm like, "Back up." Right? She back up. I'm like, "Pull up there so we can go to this cookout." So we go to this cookout. I swear, true story. I swear I ain't got the distance that the Lord gave me. It wasn't overly crowded. It was at night. I was like, "Girl, back up." I was like, "Come on, y'all. We're gonna go to the cookout. Like, let's go." And whenever you have a good feeling about something and you feel good about it, you're supposed to do it. I was like, "Come on." All 3 of them wussies did not want to get out of the car, and my friend refused to pull up the street into the cookout, their driveway. She was like, "No, they're gonna be like, who the hell is this coming?" I'm like, "Girl, I'm telling you, I got you. It's not gonna be like that. Look at me." I'm like, "Girl, I got you." I'm like, "Yo, they're not gonna be like that. They're not gonna be like that. It's not gonna, and if they do so well, all they can do is tell us to leave. And I want something to eat." And oh my goodness, true story. And I was like, "Girl, come on." And my other homegirl was like, "Girl, I'm not messing with you. I'm not getting out this car. I'm not going to that cookout." So I looked at the other homegirl who seemed like she was a little bit of a daredevil. I was like, "You wanna go? Come on, you wanna go?" And she was like, "Hell no, I ain't going." And then the driver, she wasn't going because you know that's my little homegirl. She don't want to do that. She can't step outside the box to save her life. I was like, "Come on, come on." That is the one time me and my friend, we were just talking about this. That is the one time I ever regret not driving my car. That's why don't get me wrong, I do have my moments where I prefer to be chaperoned. But for the most part, that's why I do not like being at other people at the control of other people's expense. I hate it. And I was so mad, right? Now, can you believe that now to this day, I think it was like 2 of them have said to me personally, what has it been? 1, 2 years later, we should have went to that cookout. I swear, was like, "Yo, we should have went to that cookout. I should have got out of the car. We should have went to that cookout." 'Cause man, that really would have been a fun ass memory to add to the memory vault. I was like, "See? Here we are 2 years later, now you wanna bring it up. Next time, just go with it." So, with even that being said, live a little. I'm sorry, I can't get with it. A person that always say no, people who don't ever wanna try anything, you say no before you even taste it. You don't know what it look like. You don't know what it's gonna taste like. You just saying no. That's why I can't. I can't. Me and my homegirl be laughing all the time. We come to like relationships. I'm like, girl, I don't know how people do it. I can't do it. I cannot be with nobody that just don't want to do nothing. They always saying no. They don't want to try anything. They don't want to explore the unknown. I just can't. Like you got to know yourself. Like truly, you got to have your spirit animal. I need a spirit animal, and I think that, and I know I don't even want to say I think, and I know that that comes from the fact that I've always like had like a spontaneous, you know, relationship. Like people like, yeah, come on, we're gonna go bungee jumping today. From where? Alaska. Woohoo! Stuff like that. So I like that. My mother, I grew up, she always had us like eating different food, even if we didn't like it and stuff like that. She always had us trying different food, eating different things. So I'll always try anything. I didn't always do that. I would always like, "Oh, no, I'm not about to do that. I'm not about to try that." But now it's like, "Come on, y'all listen. We got one life to live. One thing for sure, two for certain, it's gonna come to an end. Don't be a sourpuss. Try it. Try it. Do it. Add something new to your genre. Okay? Explore the world. Sharing is caring." And before I get out of here, um, I just wanna say, like, I hope that with anything, with the whole Young Thug case, that it shows you something. You can learn from it, you can listen, don't judge people, you don't know until you get put in the situation. But what I will tell you though is this, and this is what I was telling my nephew when they was like, "Well, you have some people who say they don't listen to people because they're a rat, because of this. Some people say they stop listening to R. Kelly. I don't do any of that because it ain't none of my business. I only know these people for their talents, and that's just what it is. I ain't got nothing to do with these people in their personal life. Just like I don't want them to have anything to do with what I do in mine. Just like I don't want y'all to have nothing to do with what I do. Nothing I do should ever offend, affect, or change your world. Okay, unless it's for something good. So, um, things of that nature. So, live your life for you. Okay, not for your parents, not for your friends. Hell, not even for your children, because guess what? Your kids is gonna grow up, and you think they're gonna be with the person you want them to be with. You think they're gonna, you know, have the kids you want them to have. You think they're gonna choose the career path that you want them to choose. Absolutely not. Oh, okay. All that staying in a relationship, keeping the family together because you wanna stay together for the kids, them kids are going to grow up and be gone, and then you gonna be stuck in bondage for 40, 111 years for little Tink Tink and them. And when little Tink Tink and them get grown, little Tink Tink and them is not thinking about you, okay? At all. You understand? Free yourself. Don't hold a grudge. It's easy, you don't really realize how much it burns you up and what it does to you. Forgive. Woohoo! It's easier said than done. Forgiveness is easier said than done. Okay? But you gotta try it anyway. There's freedom in letting go. There is power in forgiveness. And there is joy in minding your goddamn business. For real, I'm telling you what I know. So just do and live life for you. Don't complain all day. And we get into mode. Listen, I was just in like a complaint. I don't know what was going on with me. I don't know. I ain't like it. I ain't. Blah, blah. I had a complaining spirit. The complaining spirit had tried to attach itself to me for like a month. Yes, it did. But because I daily work on myself, I say, "Oh, hell no. Hell to the no, no, no." You gotta put the work in. You gotta be happy and live your life for you, for real. Live your life for you. You can't live for nobody. If you have goals that you want, whether it's to buy a car, fix your credit, get your own place, get married, have kids, start a business, lose weight, go to school. You have to start putting that stuff into action. Take me from out of here and put it into action. You get one life, one, and that is what if you ever seen the movie Meet Joe Black, have you guys ever seen the movie Meet Joe Black? I love the movie Meet Joe Black. I was supposed to talk about that tonight too. I love the movie Meet Joe Black. I highly recommend if you have not, never, ever, ever seen that movie with Anthony Hopkins and Brad Pitt. I highly suggest you watch it. I don't care if it moves slow or you feel like it's a slow start or whatever, you watch it. You watch it. Brad Pitt is the angel of death, and he was sent to Earth to collect Anthony Hopkins. A wonderful, beautiful movie. Oh my god, so good. And I saw it again recently. I woke up in the middle of the night actually, and that's when it hit me again. Don't worry about what you cannot control. Focus and worry about today. Put your best foot forward today. Put your best foot forward today because anything can happen for real. And when I tell you to fully accept people for who they are and what they do, no matter what, because if anything ever happened to them, you would be devastated because your grief, your judgment, excuse me, and how you were and how you treated them would eat you alive. And I said that to say, y'all know, I'm always there. I lost my big homie, in the words of Young Doug. And I didn't realize it until time had gone on, how much of a blessing it was that I have no regrets. There aren't any things that I have left that I didn't get to say to her. She fully accepted me. She loved me. I loved her. And although, when people leave our lives, we be upset about it. But oh, and I'm gonna share something that was crazy. So pay attention to the TikTok stuff, involving her. I can't wait for the videos. But, you know, to have that, it was so freeing to have someone so close to you pass away, and other than wanting more time, wanting to see her because I didn't get to see her, outside of all the extra things for me out of it, other than, missing my friend, she passed and I didn't feel a way about how I treated her, what I thought about her, how I made her feel. Did I ever wrong her? Did I ever hurt her feelings? You know what I mean? That even in this moment, sharing it again, like, to God be the glory. So this is why, you guys, there is power in forgiveness and just fully accepting people and letting them be who they choose to be, letting them do what they choose to do, and ultimately Let yourself do what you wanna do. You gotta free the people who've hurt you, who let you down, who didn't keep their promises, who turned their back on you, who scolded you, who betrayed you, who did the ultimate betrayal. You gotta let it go. And if the Young Thug interview recently didn't do anything, you should have been able to see that that man is hurt, and he has to find a way to let it go. And the one thing he said, which I thought was even brave, was, "How do I do it? How?" I remember I was in my 20s, and I used to say, "How do you forgive?" And my coworker, one of my partners, I used to say, "How do you forgive? How do you forgive? How do you know when you forgave? How you did it?" These were questions I used to ask because I knew it was some people, baby, that I had to just, like, forgive, and I didn't know. Yo, I didn't learn, and I was in my 20s when I asked that. I was, like, 20, 22, 23, so, like, 24, 25. I didn't freaking learn how to forgive, my nigga. Look at me. And I got to come down, be low hood. I didn't learn to forgive until I was 30, you know? And then I didn't even know what it meant. No, I'm lying. I was in my late 20s when I learned that. I didn't start forgiving until I was 30. At 28, I learned why you should forgive. And at 29, 30, I learned how to forgive. And during that time, even going forward more, I learned why it's important. And even me, it's hard, it's difficult. I'm human. I have my moments where it's difficult for me to accept some people for the things that they do, especially if you do something to me that I don't do to you, or if you treat me away, and I'm like, golly. But hey, I had to start saying, you know what I started saying? Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Because my goodness. And then I just stopped having expectations of people, and then I stopped being disappointed. And then if it's something that happens and it still bothers me, I'm like, Lord, what do I need to learn from this? Like, recently I was praying and talking, and I was like, show me, God, show me who I need to forgive. Show me what I'm still holding on to. And even though I forgive and I do this stuff all the time and I be constantly doing the work, ooh, some people came to the surface, but the person that came to the surface the most, and she came to the surface before. She comes to the she used to come she's come to the surface throughout the years, with me and my cousin. She's come to the surface along with other people. And then I'm gonna get out of here. It was little Candace showed up again, this time big as that, you know? So, like, childhood little Candace, you know, that kid that we all that kid, that inner child that lives in us that we all formed some form of trying to protect from whatever it may be, we felt like we had to protect. And she just was like, "Okay." And I had to forgive that. I had to forgive and go through a process and release. Like, "Girl, ooh, I thought about the book. I don't have to protect you." And that when I tell y'all my heart, like, everything just was felt so much lighter, and it was just like, and I was like, "Ooh," you know, along with my other list of people, okay? But even out of like I said, all the people that came up on this list, baby, I was the most important one. So I'm just saying, you guys, live your life for you. We have to forgive, man. If people knew better, they would do better. Hell, if I knew better, I would have done better. But like I always say to my friend, better ain't no me. Better ain't no me. If I would have known better, I'd have did better. When you know better, you do better. But better ain't no me. Okay? Sometimes I be like, God, I wish I ain't have growth. But y'all live life. You only get one life, man. Do what makes you happy. You gotta do what makes you happy, man. If you feel like you living and walking on autopilot, get off of it. Get off of it. Go after your dream, man. Keep on doing what you doing. Keep trucking. Keep hope alive. If you need some assistance, you need help, open your mouth. You got people you never know who might want to help you out. And then you just never know how far you go if you try. And you never know who God will send along your way to help you in the process. So keep your head up. And sometimes it's okay to let it down. Just don't lose your crown. Oh, that was a bar. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I want you guys to go watch that movie. Remember, the movie is Meet Joe Black. I'm gonna put it in. Meet Joe Black. I want you guys to go with an open heart and open mind and watch Young Thug's 2.5 hour interview that he just did. And I promise you, you'll see a piece of yourself in there. And Takashi got this song. The song is fire. And I like everybody, but I ain't gonna lie. When I heard Takashi's song, I was so excited because you know I love hip hop. I love music. I was like, man, I've been waiting for somebody to drop the music, and I ain't gonna lie, that'd be a nice little rap battle beat thing. I would love to hear two people deemed snitches going back and forth. What some girls say? Whoop de doo, whoop de doo. So I can't wait. But I ain't gonna lie, I heard him and I missed him. I was like, "Oh my god." And then Tekashi 69 still got 24.5 million followers. So again, listen, I ain't got nobody I ain't got to stop snitching to. I don't gotta live by that. It's entertainment for me. It is what it is. I saw Yak Gotti. Yak Gotti just did an interview. I'm gonna go listen to Yak Gotti interview because Yak Gotti is another one who was on the trial, who took a plea, who told. Okay. And then y'all remember the other one who was on the trial. His wife ended up being the lawyer that replaced the one lawyer that was stood in for Lil Woody. And y'all know down there in Atlanta, their lawyers and police officers and all of that stuff, paralegals, they're known for messing with all like the drug dealers and stuff. So it's funny because remember when I told y'all that the judge who was going to replace the original judge that did the trial was being replaced by a black female. She had to recuse herself because her they gonna bail her for something like that was messing with one of the dudes on a trial. So they just a mess down there. But watch it, see what you can learn from it. Just be better, take it one day at a time, live for today. Yeah, go soar, go explore, and do so much more. Go lifers. Wait a minute, no, I don't wait. Whoa, that came out wrong because go lifers. That kind of sounded like some prisons. That's not. I'm saying go live your life. Like, let me just be quiet because I feel like I'm making it first. This is- See, I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and I'll see you guys soon. Shout out to everybody who shot the Patreon, and I will have your orders out this weekend if you ordered your orders for your juices. See you later, alligator. After a while, crocodile.